Hello and welcome to the Daily Royal. My name is Shelby and I have been a royal watcher for the past 10 years. In this podcast, I talk about the daily events of 7 of the European monarchies. So I talk about Belgium, the UK, Denmark, the Netherlands, Norway, Spain, and Sweden. I upload Monday through Friday with occasional bonus episodes here and there. Today we are going to be talking about all of the events from Friday, May 21st through Sunday, May 23rd. Not really a lot to say. It was an extremely busy weekend, so this is probably going to be a longer episode than I was planning on, which is fine. It's this is what this podcast could turn into, just putting it out there. So as things get busier, once August comes and I kind of reevaluate everything, we'll probably switch it up a little bit in terms of, instead of covering like every event, covering like a big one and going into a deeper dive on it or something like that. But for now, we're sticking with the regular format because my mind cannot handle adjusting format right now. But as things get busier and after the August kind of holiday, we'll jump in and we'll talk a little bit more about what we're gonna do. Obviously, I know it's still like the last week in May, but we're coming up to where things are gonna slow down a little bit due to summer. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. So things seem to be like picking up pace right now because a lot of COVID restrictions have lifted. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So we are going to jump right in with the Belgian royal family. In Belgium, there was really just one event over the weekend, but it leads us into something that will be happening through the rest of the week. So Queen Mathilde on Saturday held a video conference with the finalists of the Queen Elizabeth music competition. So Mathilde is the patron for the Queen Elizabeth music competition, and the semifinals are done, and the finals start, I believe, on Monday. Yeah, tomorrow. So, and then they go, I think, for like a few days, and then I'm not entirely sure how this year is going to go. I would expect Mathilde in some form to be present for like the final, but I'm not sure. Maybe she won't. She has been attending some of the semifinals in person, so I would expect her to be at the final in person as well, but we'll see. So that was on Saturday. The Belgian Royal House, as well as the Queen Elizabeth Music Competition, shared more about that today. And it was just like a special treat for them because obviously this year has been substantially different than most years. So that is what was going on there. And now for the big event, let's go on to the British royal family. The UK is an interesting one because I just did not expect this weekend to be as busy as it ended up being, because even though I logically knew what date it was, like what day of the month, I somehow put this happening next weekend. So, oops. Before we get to that, though, there were a couple of things. So on Friday, Queen Elizabeth received the credentials of the new ambassadors from Singapore and Uruguay. This is in the same type of ceremony that we've been seeing her do pretty consistently. And then on Friday, so I'm going to talk about this all at once, but I want to talk about the Friday. I'll just talk about it all. So Friday started the Duke of Cambridge's visit to Scotland for the General Assembly of the Church of Scotland. So, there have been a lot of events. There are still a lot of events going on for the General Assembly, as well as, I think, starting tomorrow, the Duchess of Cambridge comes up to Scotland as well, and they're going to take on a few days of engagements together, including a visit to the town of St. Andrews, which is where they attended university and where they met, which is cute. But that hasn't happened yet. So Friday, the official events started with William arriving to Holyrood House, which is the official residence of the Queen in Scotland. And so he reviewed the guard there and then essentially took up residence. So, I mentioned this when it was announced, but William has been named Lord High Commissioner to the General Assembly of the Church of Scotland. So he is representing the Queen, who is the head of the Church of Scotland, essentially. And so he is there on her behalf, essentially. So that was Friday night. And then on Saturday, he obviously is continuing his visit to Scotland. So he began by opening the General Assembly, where he gave a speech focused on the impact that Scotland has had on him, both good and bad. And he also talked about the importance of the General Assembly and how his role is to listen and to hear and see what is going on with the Church of Scotland. And then it was also a big day because it was the Scottish Cup final for football. And so there were a few events relating to that. He visited a local football club, I think it was Spartan Football Club, where he learned about the impact that the Heads Up Mentally Healthy Football campaign has had on the local football clubs in Scotland. And then he also, to watch the game, is it a game or a match? I think it's a game. He went to a rooftop bar where he watched the game with first responders. So, very similar to how he did the original, like the FA Cup last year, they held like a watch party on the grounds of Kensington with first responders and essential workers, just to thank them and give them something to do to enjoy. But obviously, as restrictions are loosening, we're able to go to a rooftop bar and do the same thing in a larger group. So that was really cool. And then he ended his day by test driving, I think it was an electric vehicle. I didn't have that part written on my outline. Hang on. Let me see if I can find it here. I have to go back a little bit. Okay, so the pioneering, joining Extreme E live at Knockhill Racing Circuit in Fife to hear about their pioneering work to create sustainable motorsports. And so William took out their Odyssey 21 electric vehicle, to which he said was really fun. It looks really fun. I want to do that. I really don't, but kind of. So that was all of yesterday's events. And then today, he, obviously continuing with the General Assembly, started his day by visiting by attending a church service in Scotland, in Edinburgh, and then went on to visit different organizations that have some sort of association with the church. So he visited an organization that makes new furniture out of church pews. He just like a lot of different things. So there was, it's the Grass Market Community Project is what that project is, that does old church pews into furniture, which I think is really cool. And then he ended his day with visiting a residential care center for like an ice cream social, where the cutest thing is a 96-year-old woman named Betty, who was full on flirting with William, and I loved every minute of it. She kept asking to give him a kiss on the cheek, to which, of course, because of COVID, he cannot do. But they were just having a grand old time. I loved it. I think this week is going to be really fun. So that was the Scottish events for William. And then also on Saturday, you guys, this weekend for the British royal family was massively populous in events. It's crazy. So on Saturday morning, Queen Elizabeth visited the crew aboard the HMS Queen Elizabeth, which is not named for our Queen Elizabeth II. It is named for Queen Elizabeth I. But Queen Elizabeth II is godmother to the ship. So she visited the ship, which is about to embark on its maiden deployment. So this ship is like one of the second largest naval ships in the fleet. I think it's the same size as the other, so they're like two at the largest size. And it is about to be deployed. It's going, I don't remember how long. Anyway, there are 1,700 crew on board, and so she was able to visit a few of them, tour the ship, as well as deliver a service medal to one of the, I think he was like a chief petty officer on board. And obviously this is just a big deal in and of itself because Queen Elizabeth hasn't done that many in-person events, but I think we'll start to see more and more as we continue with loosened COVID restrictions. Also, like, she is vaccinated fully, and I think it'll just be good. I hope. This is why I'm like, yeah, things are going to get busier now as more and more people are vaccinated and more COVID restrictions are lifting. So I am going to take a look at the court circular now for Saturday and Sunday. So this is Saturday. Yep. In Clarence House, the Prince of Wales visited St. Mary's Church in Bilberry as part of his work as patron of music and country churches. And then Saturday, so we have the HMS Queen Elizabeth, and then we have the Duke of Cambridge's events. And then I want to look at Fridays as well. Did I miss an event on Friday? I may have. Okay, so on Friday at Clarence House, the Prince of Wales and Duchess of Cornwall visited Pinewood School. I'm unsure of what that's about, and I don't remember them sharing anything about it. And then in the evening, they attended a reception for the elephant family display that is going around the UK at the moment, or is stationed in different places throughout London or the UK. I'm not sure which. And then we have the, oh, okay. Oh, that's okay. Okay, and then we have the events for the Duke of Cambridge. So the actual visit to the Spartans Football Club did not take part on Saturday. It was shared on Saturday, but it actually happened on Friday. Other than that, everything is good. So that is what was going on in the UK. I know that was a lot. And so now we're going to go ahead and move on to the events in Denmark. events, so many events. So on Friday in Denmark, Crown Prince Frederik started his day by chairing a meeting for the jury of the Crown Prince Frederik Business Excellence Awards. So this is geared towards businesses that focus on sustainability. And as the head of the jury, Frederik is, of course, leading the meeting of the awards that are named in his honor. So that's a big thing. Those are going to be awarded on August 27th. So that's kind of why I'm like, hey, August is coming. And so what that'll mean is it'll be part of a week in review. So it'll be the day that I record, it'll happen. So basically what will go on, for those who are curious, since we're kind of talking about it, starting on August 1st. So August 1st, I'll record any events that happened through July 30th and 31st, or anything that happens on the 1st. And then I will not record again until the 8th. So I will do like August 2nd through the 8th full of events. And so it'll be, instead of the daily royal, it'll be the weekly royal. And what'll happen is it'll still be probably a 25 to 35 minute episode, because there won't be a lot of things going on. Now, there could be some things that change because of that. Like if schedules are busier than I am anticipating, then maybe we'll do like 8 episodes in the month instead of 4, where I like split up the week and record on Wednesday or something. I don't know yet what this is going to look like in relation to actual scheduled events. But I do roughly know that August is going to be pretty slow for most of our families. So that's what will more than likely happen. So anyway, those awards will be at the very tail end of August, in our weekly royal month. So that was his first event. And then Frederik also took part in the planting of a fruit tree plantation at a school, with the organization. So he is the patron for an organization called Plant a Tree, that receives donations to plant a tree. And in this case, a series of fruit trees. So I thought that was really cool. And then going along with the nature theme, Crown Princess Mary took part in the launch of a new social media campaign with the World Wildlife Fund, encouraging Danish people to take photos and share them on social media of nature. So as Denmark is entering into springtime, it's a great time to get outside. So for those of us in the States who are experiencing like a heat wave, Denmark and Sweden and Norway are kind of just entering spring period finally. It's just the Nordic theory. They just don't have a lot of spring and summer. But their winter, I don't know. So anyway, they are entering into more of their springtime finally, so getting out in nature is much easier. So that is what was going on in Denmark. I think. There was something today, but I think it was all paparazzi and like not an official event, and also based on a child, so I'm not talking about it. Just like my rule of thumb is, unless their parents are present and they're under 18, royal children, even if like they're off limits. I mean, if they have like an official event on the calendar by themselves, fine. But the only one who's had that is Leonor of Spain, and I think she's the only one who will continue to have them. But like, very much just talk about the actual facts, and I don't talk about like paparazzi photos or anything like that. Very rarely. So that's what was going on in Denmark on Friday and over the weekend. So now let's go ahead and move on to the Netherlands. Netherlands, there was one event on Friday. So King Willem-Alexander opened a new solar energy park. There wasn't a whole lot of information shared about this, but basically, like, he was given the official tour, spoke to different people throughout the company, technicians, representatives of the majority company, as well as like residents of the area that it's in. It all sounded like kind of negative connotation, like the neighbors were upset about it. I don't really know if that's the case. It was just the way I was reading it and the way Google translated it, so it was interesting, but that's really all they talked about, like in the announcement of the event and the readout of the event, which hadn't been updated yet when I was checking yesterday. And so that brings me to Saturday. So I am going to talk about this a little bit, and I'm going to talk about it in the Netherlands because Saturday was the Eurovision final. So I am officially no longer a Eurovision virgin. What a show. What a night. If you have not watched, if you are not European and don't stop your life for Eurovision, you should. It's amazing. I think next year when I watch it, I probably will not watch the semifinals and just save like all the excitement and the drama for the finals. That's what I've learned. But congratulations to Italy for their win. I didn't like the song, but like I know it. From what I have read, Italy deserves a win, so congratulations to them. None of our monarchies were even like close, which is totally fine. It's how it happens. It's all good. So the reason I'm talking about this the whole time is there was always some will they, won't they with King Willem-Alexander and Queen Maxima coming to Eurovision, to the finals. So we know that Queen Maxima went to the semifinal night 2 rehearsal, but it was never like shared whether she would, like they never announced. So it was always this will they, won't they. And then some journalist decided to write that they would be coming. It was a complete lie. They did not go. Complete fabrication that he then deleted and pretended like it never happened, which was really funny. So I personally was like a little bit bummed, but not really. I still would have watched Eurovision anyway, because I've always been really curious, but like I said, next year I will for sure watch it, I think, depending on when it is like scheduled for. But I think I will only watch the final because like that's when you need to watch. But yeah, let's see. The UK got 0 points, which politically I found kind of funny. Yeah, so that was Eurovision. I really enjoyed it, but it was special. Okay, so that's what was going on in the Netherlands. We are skipping Norway because there were just a couple of meetings, the typical Friday Council of State meeting, and then a farewell audience to the ambassador of South Korea in Norway. So those were the 2 events going on there. So now we are going to take a small short jump to Spain. So Spain and Casa Real had kind of built up this weekend to be like a grand 3-day affair, and none of that happened. So on Friday, which is when Casa Real updates their calendar for the week ahead, it mentioned that King Felipe was supposed to be in Ecuador starting on May 22nd, which was Saturday. He just got there like 3 hours ago, and I'm recording this Sunday at 8:30. my time, and he's actually an hour behind me now, so it's Sunday at 7:30 there. He hasn't been there for very long. I did think it was kind of odd that he was going to travel for a few days to Ecuador. So he's attending the inauguration of the new Ecuadorian president, which happens tomorrow. He does this for most of the Ibero-American countries. He will travel. He's been doing it since he was the Prince of Asturias. I assume at some point Leonor will start doing it when she's educated, like when she is officially fully a working royal and is not in school. I suspect she'll finally take this over. Not finally. She doesn't need to. She's a child. But, like, I suspect she will take this over because Juan Carlos, King Felipe's father, like, rarely ever did them. Felipe took them over pretty early on. So, anyway, so that's tomorrow. And it's pretty rare for him to be there for, like, 3 days for those. Also, yesterday was his wedding anniversary, so King Felipe and Queen Letizia have been married for 17 years yesterday, so I just didn't think he was going to leave on Saturday. He did not. He left at some point today and arrived in Ecuador in the mid-afternoon. So, this is going to be an interesting thing. This has happened a couple of times. But just so you all know, I've said this before, kind of my process is I do an outline at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 1 or 2 o'clock really actually, and it used to be 2 or 3, but with my new schedule it's 1 to 2. And most of the events have happened in Europe by then. However, there's always an interesting thing that happens when they travel to my side of the country, in that they are now an hour behind me. I have no idea how this is going to work when I like move. I think my work day will start in the evening instead of sporadically through the day. So basically what this means for the podcast is there are going to be things that I'm missing for King Felipe tomorrow. Literally, this only affects tomorrow's episode and today's. So like I mentioned, he arrived to the airport in Ecuador today in the afternoon. I do think he has had it's not technically a bilateral, but he has had a meeting with the president-elect for the Republic of Ecuador, who's being sworn in tomorrow. And so this is pretty common. At some point tomorrow, I'm sure he will meet with the current president. And he could be doing that now. The thing is, like, it's 7:30 over there. It's 7:30 p.m. So, like, he could be meeting. He could still go to the Spanish embassy tonight. If he does any of those things, we'll talk about them tomorrow. I will, for tomorrow, I will do most of my research, but I will check in on King Felipe kind of before I record. But there are still things that I'll probably have to add in to his, like, to this podcast talking about his trip on Tuesday's episode, the episode that I record on Tuesday, which comes out on Wednesday. So, which will be fine, because they don't have any events scheduled for the 25th. So he's supposed to leave probably tomorrow night, after doing all of the things that he needs to do. So we'll see how that plays out. I'm not really sure yet. So that's what was going on in Spain. I thought it was going to be a really busy weekend, and it turned out not to be, which I'm kind of grateful for because the UK was so busy. So that's what was going on there. And now we are going to go ahead and quickly move on to the Swedish royal family. There was just one event in Sweden over the weekend. So Prince Daniel sent a digital message to the Prince Daniel's race, which I, for some reason, thought was a physical, like a foot race, like a running race. It is not. It's a horse race, which shocked me. So I have watched past editions now, but it's a horse race that was founded in his name in 2011, so the year after he was married, after he married into the royal family. So I'm not sure what this was, but anyway, he was not there in person. I don't know if he's ever there in person. Last year it didn't happen, and this is not a thing I've ever heard of before until yesterday. So that was on Saturday. I have no idea about the details. I know that he had a digital conversation with the winners, and then he sent this message before the race started. That's what I know. Not entirely sure what was going on. Learned a little something new. That was great. But then that was it for the weekend. There was no events on Saturday. Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the most important thing. I cannot believe it. Anyway, so today there were some exciting things. You know why I'm forgetting it? Because they didn't post it on their website, and it was early this morning when I first saw them. So anyway, today, I'm so mad that I almost forgot this. So today, Crown Princess Victoria, Prince Daniel, Princess Estelle, and Prince Oscar shared new photos to mark the launch of spring. So they are just quintessential Swedish, you guys, it's so Swedish flower child. I love it. I'll have them linked on the website. They're so cute. Somehow Oscar is finally a grown child. It has finally happened. He's always seemed like he's always looked so little, and he finally looks like a kid, which is kind of blowing my mind a little bit. How much he has grown since we saw his birthday picture in March. So that's what was going on. Yeah. So a busy weekend. It looks like potentially a busier kind of week ahead, with the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge in Scotland. Yes, I know they have Scottish titles. I will still be using their traditional British, their English titles, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, because that's how I know them. That is how I will refer to them. I know that they are the Earl and... Are they Earl and Countess of Strathern? I think they are. But I know that that's what they are, I think, at least. And I know that they have those Scottish titles. But just for continuity's sake, I will be using them as the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge on this podcast. So that is where we're at. Lots of different things, I'm sure, happening throughout the week. It's kind of one of those weeks for me that's an adjustment week. Some things are happening behind the scenes in personal life that are just going to be potentially an adjustment. So, hopefully things can stay kind of continuous like they were last week, and things will be good. So with all of that, I'm going to end this episode. I will talk to you all tomorrow. Have a fantastic Monday. Talk to you later. Bye.